Okay, so in this video, we're going to learn how to ride an adventure bike off-road. So one of the most important things we need to do on a bike as heavy as this and with as little as suspension is we need to learn to ride in that standing position. So we call that the attack position. So we want to be on the balls of our feet and we want to have our knees behind our toes and we want to have our bum at the back of the bike and our head over the front of the handlebars. When there's so little suspension on a bike like this, we really need to use our natural hinge points as added suspension. So that means our ankles and our knees. If we're locking our legs or we're bending our knees too much, we're not going to use our hinge points correctly. So when we're riding an adventure bike, they are very powerful. So this has 500 cc's. If we're riding a Tenere, that has 700 cc's. And if we're riding a KTM, that has 790 cc's. So if we grab a load of acceleration, we're going to be ripped off the back of the bike. If we're falling off the back of the bike, we could end up whiskey throttling and then falling off or wheeling. So what we need to do to prevent this, we do this on a normal dirt bike, but it's even more important that we do it on an adventure dirt bike, is as we're about to accelerate, we drive our head and our chest forwards over the front of the bike. When we do this, it stops our arms getting tired and it stops us falling off the bike. So when we take these adventure bikes off-road and we're going over bumps, rocks, obstacles, the bike is going to be shaking side to side. So what we need to do to prevent falling off or losing control of the bike is we need to grip with the inside of our legs. You've probably heard grip with your knees, but really we're gripping all the way from our feet, all the way up our legs and controlling the bike with our lower and stronger leg muscles. A lot of people make the mistake of trying to hold on with their hands and their arms. You're not going to hold on to a 200-kilogram machine over bumps with just your arms. You really need to bring in your legs. One thing I would say, when we ride with adventure bikes and we squeeze with our legs, this huge exhaust pipe actually gets in the way and it prevents us from gripping with our feet. So it makes that even more harder. But that just means it's even more important that we're gripping with what part of our legs that we can have contact with. As I said earlier, with a bike with such little suspension travel, it is very important to make sure your weight is spread out throughout the whole bike. If too much weight is forwards, then the front suspension isn't going to be able to handle all the bumps and holes that you're hitting. And if there's too much weight over the rear, then again, your suspension isn't going to be able to handle that. So that's why we want to aim to have our bum at the back, our head over the front, and allow that weight to be distributed. And then both the front and the rear suspension will work in unison. Final bit of advice when learning to ride an adventure bike off-road is if you've never ridden a dirt bike, get yourself one and practice on that first. It's best to learn the technique on a smaller, more controllable bike. It's very difficult to learn on an adventure bike because it's so heavy, and when you crash it, you break the bike or you break your leg. If you have a small light bike to practice on, you can learn the technique, master the craft, and then move on to the powerful beast that is the CB500. So if you enjoyed this video and found it helpful, then please watch the other video that's on screen now. And if you want to learn more about riding adventure bikes, then book a lesson with Dirt Town Academy. You can find it on our website.